The federal government will soon launch a clean and green program to address the menace of indiscriminate disposal of plastics and polythene bags. The Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed, revealed this at the 10th National Council on Environment held in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital. The program is to protect the environment from pollution and create entrepreneurs in waste management. The host governor, Tanko Al-Mukura, called on investors to harness the solid minerals that abound in the state.
It's very, I think, important that we have put a number of issues on the agenda, and what we would like to ask is that, of course, Nasarawa State plays a role, particularly in its proximity to Abuja, in helping us to actualize the aims and objectives of environment. Our new narrative said we must empower people first, which means everything that we do must produce a job for our young people and our women and the rest of the populace. The second thing is to take climate action, not to wait for that climate disaster to happen, but to try to prevent it. And last but not least is protecting the environment, and that means that we put regulations in place. But as we said, Nigeria doesn't have any federal Nigerians. They're all in the states and the local governments. Therefore, the federal government intends to partner with states and local governments to ensure that our investments have results on the ground.
The initiative you have brought to the South State is timely. The hosting of this council meeting, the new map, the RED Plus, the West to Wealth project. Why I say it's timely is because Nasarawa being the next door neighbor to the federal capital, and as a matter of fact, more than 60% of what constitutes the federal capital now was excised from Nasarawa State.
The biggest form of corruption is not the ones you find in government offices or banks. It's not the ones that is plaguing the oil industry or pension administration. It's that of the judiciary. This statement is coming from the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu. Mr. Magu said this in Lagos as he presented a paper titled "This is Our Chance" at a symposium for the National Association of Democratic Lawyers. The EFCC boss asked the lawyers to rescue Nigeria from the dark forces holding the nation captive.
The biggest form of corruption is not the ones you find in government offices or banks. It is not the ones that is plugging the oil industry or pension administration. The biggest, most virulent form of corruption that ever existed is the one that has been deep into the fabric of the temple of justice. The EFCC, under my watch, has had no choice than to challenge this certain senior lawyers, judges, and other judicial officers against who we have collected concrete evidence for preventing the course of justice, for perverting the course of justice. Today is a new dawn at the EFCC. We have resolved to call out anybody who is corrupt, anybody who is an enemy of Nigeria, Nigerian people, be he or she in the executive, legislative, or judicial arms of the government.
Private interstate transporters say that they may have to increase their fare by as much as 70% to meet up with the technological demands of doing business in the sector. This, they say, will help monitor the activities of their drivers and subsequently reduce fatalities in road accidents. Our correspondent, Ini Thompson, reports.
The World Health Organization has estimated that over 1.3 million people are killed annually in road accidents in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the records from FRS shows that just one of the transport companies operating in the country has been responsible for 11 accidents and 37 killed between January and June 2016. This has turned attention to the operations of the Association of Private Transport Owners, and the drivers are in the eye of the storm.
Most times it is our attitude on the road and largely impatience The typical Nigerian driver is not ready to wait at any point in time.
However, the drivers have a defense.
Drivers is always drivers anywhere, anytime. What they need is encouragement. If you encourage your driver and you give them training, as we have been also commenting here, that we should give them training, they will perform. But whereby a driver is not having enough fun to maintain himself and his family, understanding he will also be thinking that how do I do? What do I do? My wife is asking for school fees for the children, and is asking the landlord. Most of them, the landlord has given them quick notice.
There's also the issue of general running and operational efficiency of the sector.
You need to be sure that vehicle availability and vehicle utilization. Are they available? You can make it available through by using technology. Know where the vehicle are moving to, know where the customer are coming from. By that time, you can match it, and then there will be efficiency there in terms of operation.
People, goods and services need to be transported to market and produced. And if the transportation sector is faulty, then the economy is automatically crippled. And if it works well, the economy easily accelerates.
The transporters say that the need to meet up with operational efficiency has birthed their plan to hike prices by as much as 70%, especially if the current downward economic trend continues. Ini Thompson reporting for Channels Television News.
Let's shift gears very quickly now, shall we? Business News is up next with Anwaldo.
Thanks a lot, Gimba. Welcome to Business News. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has been elected president of the Association of African Central Banks. Mr. Emefiele was elected at the 39th ordinary meeting of the Assembly of Governors of the AACB in Abuja. He will be president of the association from 2016 to 2017 and succeeds Mr. Lucas Nchama, who's the governor of the Bank of Central African States. The governor of Central Bank of Burundi was elected as chairman of the East African sub-region. Governor of the Central Bank of the Kingdom of Switzerland was elected chairman of the Southern African sub-region. Following the suspension of bank assurance and other sectoral related products by the National Insurance Commission, some listed companies have resolved to continue their dialogue with the regulators. The insurance company has declared all sectoral assurance products invalid after the central bank ruled out NICOM's oversight functions on banks. Chief executives of some of the affected insurance companies, however, expect new guidelines from NICOM to address the move.
Bank assurance is still a key a vehicle for us in terms of reaching customers, and it really is such a big distribution channel for us that we must find a solution to it. We must find a solution in trying to harmonize CBN and NICOM. Otherwise, a whole big market is being locked for the insurance industry, and we are trying to get into retail now. One of the best channels of reaching retail is through the banks. They have the retail customers. So we need to open that channel up somehow.
Well, I think these are actually very interesting times for the financial services sector as a whole. You know, the insurance industry, of course, playing its rightful position is the bedrock of the financial services sector. Because when all things go bad, that is where we come in. The issue of capitalization, I think, from our own understanding, is that it will be stratified. We'll be looking at a situation where we have what you call risk-based capital. In other words, you will be able to underwrite risks according to the strength of your balance sheet. And I think there will be prescribed guidelines to that effect.
The new Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Usman Yusuf, says his main task is to improve the enforcement unit of the agency against fraudulent practices in health insurance. He was speaking at a dialogue session with executives of the Trade Union Congress. At the meeting, members of the union asked for careful supervision of insurers' services across all sectors.
Forward to a situation where the operators will be appropriately monitored and sanctions meted onto defaulters and what we call the fraudsters within the system of the HMOs and the HCPs. I'm sure you must have been briefed of some of their own activities.
My idea is to strengthen the enforcement arm of the agency for us to play our regulatory role properly. We are supposed to regulate ourselves first. Go out, regulate the HMOs, and regulate the healthcare providers. And this is what I intend to do, strengthen the enforcement arm of this agency. Whoever is not living up to his contractual agreement, then he will need to answer to the law.
The Nigerian equities market ended the week on a positive note, boosted by better-than-expected half-year earnings from GT Bank and Access Bank. The all-share index closed 1.48% higher at 28,642.25, while market capitalization also grew to 9.49 trillion naira. Total volume traded rose by 14.06% to 1.37 billion shares, worth 12.94 billion naira, and traded in 16,915 deals. Unilever led the gainers chart for the week with 10.23%, while Champion Brewers was top loser for the week with 19.53%. UBA, Axis Bank and FBN Holdings maintained the top positions by volume, collectively accounting for 40.66% of the total volume traded during the week. And that's the end of Business News tonight. That rounds up Business News for this week. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Anne Wawadu. Back to you, Kimba.
The dwindle in revenue accruing to government is now forcing authorities to come out with new ideas. In line with this, the Kwara State government is building a business hub in Abuja, the nation's capital, to increase its revenue generation. Laying the foundation for the 100 million naira building project, the state governor, Mr. Abdul Fattah Ahmed, explains that the project has become absolutely necessary.
Located in the Wuye district of the nation's capital is this piece of land belonging to Harmony Holdings Limited, an investment arm of the Kwara State government. The Kwara State Governor, Mr. Abdul Fattah Ahmed, led members of the management of the company to the foundation laying ceremony of the proposed Harmony Hub. According to the governor, the project in the nearest future will translate to revenue-generating platforms for the state.
Is not only putting those assets into use, but it's also showcasing potentials through a strong resourcefulness to drive revenue generation. So it's indeed an expected thing to help drive good governance in Kwara State through improved revenue derivable from this to help growth and development.
The 100 million naira project is a three-story building of shops and office suites. The target is to complete the project over the next 9 months. Although it's a Kwara State subsidiary, the company is not getting funding for the project from the state government.
We, Harmony Holdings, operate like a commercial entity. We don't expect government, we don't take anything from government. The salaries of our staff, everything we have done, 100% is our own money. At the initial stage, government gave us what we call take-off money, seed money. But since then, what we have done is to give government dividends.
But we see high and huge potential in Abuja to be able to create a hub that will accommodate not only retailers but also business suites and offices to be able to support, the growing and yearning desire of people for both commercial and residential, commercial properties to do their business.
The company is also planning to extend investments to other states across the federation.
Next on the news at 10, Nigeria wins first medal at the Rio Olympic Games, beat Honduras 3-2 in the men's football event. That's the sports news.